The Sustainability Now Telesummit is honored to share audacious ideas and innovative solutions from more than 30 experts from around the globe. Learn how we can work together to shape a world that works. Here's your host, Mira Rubin.
Welcome back to the Sustainability Now Telesummit, Shaping a World That Works. I am delighted to introduce Vinit Allen. Vinit is the founder and director of the Sustainable World Coalition, an educational nonprofit working toward an environmentally sustainable, socially just, and spiritually fulfilling world. And he's also co-founder of Planet Earth Arts, a nonprofit using the power of the arts to inspire connection with nature. Vinit is a man of many talents. He's a musician, a spiritual practitioner, community promoter, and is often involved in healing ceremony. And he recently moved from the San Francisco Bay Area to Asheville, North Carolina. Welcome, Vinit.
Hey, Mira. Thank you.
And we're so glad to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, pleasure.
So we're going to be talking about a wide range of things, one of which is a film that we're going to use as part of this presentation. Maybe you can give us a brief introduction to that film.
Sure. Yeah, it was created by a dear friend of mine, actually a fellow Planet Earth Arts member. When I saw it,
his name is Neil Rogan.
Neil Rogan. When I saw it, I suddenly understood my connection to the planet in a way that I never had before, and as well as understood, because it's beautifully depicted, the incredible production on it, as a living planet with humans being part of that living planet, and thus, having the identity of the neurological communication system for the planet, as well as the immune system that can help with planetary health and regulation. So it was very powerful for me when I recognized that, and that, gosh, everybody should see this and really have that same kind of understanding of who we are in relation to the planet, that we're part of her, literally.
Beautiful. Thank you. Let's also just introduce the Pachamama Alliance, because that's affiliated with this film, and you're a part of the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium that's part of the Pachamama Alliance. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that by way of introduction.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Pachamama Alliance is an amazing small NGO in San Francisco that was created actually out of a request coming from the Achuar indigenous tribe in the Ecuadorian rainforest, who in their dreams they were getting the message that their lands and their community was under threat from other humans outside of themselves, with whom they'd had very little contact. And their dreams were also saying that there would be some other humans, people out there that could step forward as allies to them, recognizing the importance of the tribe's survival and of the health of the rainforest. So that request reached Bill and Lynn Twist in San Francisco, and they kind of out of the blue, recognized that this was theirs to do, to jump in and help, work with the Achuar tribe in helping to protect their lands from, it turns out, oil interests that are even now, right, all about to pounce on their land, and that of many other indigenous tribes in that area, between Ecuador and Peru and the deep rainforest there. I mean, this is near the headwaters of the Amazon, so it's like the maximum diversity on the planet. It's where we shouldn't be thinking about trying to develop that area for any reason whatsoever. So they created the Pachamama Alliance, and it grew quickly in terms of both their working in Ecuador to help them to be able to defend their territory, and in fact creating a federation of tribes for the first time ever. They're now working together to do that, but also launching their programs in initially the United States, now, and I think it's in 60 different countries around the world. Of their flagship program is the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium. It's about a 2 to 3 hour experience, very powerful. A lot of it's done through this amazing short video segments that Neil has also had a hand in doing, to do essentially what the source book does, which is, to make it very clear what we're up against right now, very quickly summarizes everything of this is where we are with our society, and this is where we are with the environment, this is where we are with economics, and it's, huge challenges and also huge potential solutions. So it tells that whole story very, very effectively. And that's why I actually jumped in. As soon as I took it, I said, wow, this is exactly what I'm trying to do with my book. So, and this is doing it even more effectively through this powerful video and developed. It's taken by volunteers throughout the world, throughout these 60 countries, and and put on locally in homes and venues. As this is a perfect model for how to get something to scale, just because these volunteers understand this is an important message to be getting out, and this is the least I can do, is to help here in my neighborhood or in my town.
And what's the website to go to learn more about it? If folks want to get trained or just get involved in any capacity.
Yeah, people can be trained for free to lead this on their own. Of course, these are skills that can be valuable no matter what you do. But the website is pachamama.org, PACHAMAMA.org, simple. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And so when people view the movie, they're going to see Pachamama Alliance in the beginning.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Great. Mm-hmm.
We will be alienated from the universe until we have a story, an adequate story of the universe that tells the story of the human as well as the story of everything else, because it's part of one single process that's been going through a sequence of transformative episodes.
This idea of an emergent universe is very, very new. There is no culture, no tradition, no sage, no prophet that could know that the way our generation is blessed to know it.
When we begin to realize this tremendous sense of time that's orienting us and space that's grounding us, we are energized in a new way to take responsibility for the planet and its ecosystems. In other words, our response to the magnificence of cosmology and this story is a responsibility to its continuity.
The universe story shows how profoundly related we are. It shows that we are involved with each other and have been for a long time. So it is not the case that the earth was assembled and then we were added to the earth and it was there for our purposes. Rather, we came out of the earth.
For millions of years, every morning on Earth has dawned upon a world of greater biological diversity than the day before. In her endless journey around the sun, our sweet and generous Earth has brought forth an ever-increasing expression of complexity and sophistication, of beauty and wonder. But now, after eons of more and more, suddenly there is less and less. In a geological instant, the vitality of our Earth has plummeted. Every one of our vital life systems is showing signs of a serious and precipitous decline. So serious that most biologists now agree that we are in the midst of what they call a mass extinction event. The last time that happened was 65 million years ago, when an asteroid ended the reign of the dinosaur. But now, the cause is an asteroid. For it is the impact of human activity, specifically technological, industrial, civilized human activity, that is literally destroying our planetary life support system. Are we being alarmists? You bet. Because this news is alarming, and alarms are designed to warn us of danger and to wake us up. It's time to ask some serious questions, like what spell have we fallen under that would allow us to destroy the very system upon which we rely for our own survival? And how do we break that spell? If we are going to find our way to a workable future, it might be wise to first go back to the distant past. All the way back to what science currently views as the beginning of everything. Imagine nothing. Not space, not darkness, not even a vast emptiness, but nothing. Now, imagine everything. In a stupendous explosion of light, heat, and energy radiating out in every direction, the universe erupted into existence 13.7 billion years ago.
We can see that everything that ever was, is, or will be was compressed into a space smaller than a seed, tinier than a tear, more minuscule than a molecule. All space, all time, and the potential for everything that would ever exist started as a single point. So in a very real sense, science has discovered what indigenous people have known all along. We are all one. We are all connected. We all come from the very same source.
This massive fireball continued expanding, eventually cooling enough for the very first atoms to form.
If the expansion had just been a little bit slower, the universe would have collapsed into an enormous black hole. Or if the expansion had just been a little bit faster, the universe would have expanded just too fast for the galaxies to form, and so we'd have simply dust. If you altered the expansion just 1/1,000,000th of 1%, the entire universe would collapse. So what it suggests is that there's a profound wisdom at work in the universe.
Then, in a cosmological wink of an eye, 100 billion galaxies swirled into being.
We didn't know there were any galaxies in the universe 100 years ago. We thought that maybe there was just one. Now we realize there's 100 billion galaxies. So we're just beginning to understand some of the dynamics of galaxies. And to think that they actually have intrinsically the intelligence or the ordering power to bring forth all of this elegance. And so the galaxies themselves, they organize all the material and give birth to new stars. And when scientists really began to look at the galaxies this way, they realized they're even something like a living cell. That's news. That's another way of imagining our way into the universe.
And now, these whirlpools of galactic creativity begin to fulfill their cosmic destiny as they each give birth to 100 billion stars. When these first stars reach the end of their life cycle, they collapse in on themselves and erupt into immense cosmic explosions called supernovas.
Thomas Berry refers to the supernova event as a cosmological moment of grace. He calls it a great sacrificial moment because the death of the star is what enables all future life to evolve. The supernova embodies the archetype of death and rebirth. It's a mythic moment on a cosmic scale.
Out of these clouds of stardust, billions of second-generation stars are born. One of them was the star we call our sun. Left over from the formation of the sun was a wisp of debris that swirled itself into a necklace of 9 spinning planets, the jewel of which was the swirling mass of molten lava that was to become our home, the Earth. Out here, on a tiny planet suspended in perfect equipoise, the force that set the galaxy spinning and ignited the stars produced its next miracle. A universe within the universe. It was the birth of life. Now this miraculous manifesting force began to clothe itself in biology, expressing itself in increasingly complex and sophisticated expressions of beauty and elegance.
Earth, as we see her now, 5 billion years after that initial experience, has arrived at such a complexity, such a development, such a journey of that original fireball that she is now alive in her own right. In other words, the universe in Earth has reached a complexity in which universe awakens into life and is alive.
Think about it. Everything we see around us has developed from the boiling cauldron of the early Earth, a sphere of lava that miraculously gave rise to the sea and the atmosphere, and then life in its infinite expressions. As Brian Swim says, the Earth was once molten rock and now sings operas. So all creativity and all consciousness arises in some mysterious way from the depths of the Earth itself.
Right into the heart of this immense celebration of biological creativity, the universe produced its next surprise. An upright tool-using primate with an opposable thumb and the remarkable ability to reflect on its own existence. In essence, after nearly 14 billion years, the universe had created a way to become aware of itself.
We are the universe reflecting on itself. We are Earth become conscious. And this changes everything.
Human beings lived in harmony with nature for eons, until they discovered how to cultivate crops and domesticate animals. While most humans continued on in their nomadic ways, some chose to settle in one place. And in a mere 10,000 years, they created everything we now consider to be human history.
Why out of stardust has this come to be? Why birdsong? Why green? Why the lushness of palm and the stability of cypress and the grandeur of the mountains? And why the oceans with their billions of teeming life forms? We are part of a journey so much more than we ever could even imagine.
As we move into this understanding, we have a new identity of ourselves as cosmological beings. We're not just Americans, we're not just French, we're not just Democrats, we're not any small category. We are the universe in the form of a human, and it's true of everyone. It's an amazing new understanding of ourselves that is so profoundly inclusive. And everyone is part of this. Everything is part of this. And we discover as well a profound kinship, that no matter what being we're talking about on the planet, we are related. We're related in terms of energy. We're related in terms of genetics. We're all in one way or another like a form of kin. And that it's overwhelming. So it's just now coming into human awareness. It's going to take a lot of reflection to embody this fully, but it is a massive change in human consciousness.
The universe arose and gave rise to the galaxies. The galaxies gave rise to the stars. Our sun gave rise to the earth, and the earth gave rise to life and to all that we are. And now it is causing us to awaken from our dream of lonely isolation, so we may rejoin the great community of life and take on our part in this stupendous unfolding story. As Thomas Berry says, this is our great work.
True sustainability comes from understanding that the earth is alive and that we are actually part of that larger living system that she is, that includes her nervous system and her immune system, which are essentially human beings. That's a major, I wouldn't say that's who we are, period, but I would say that's a major identity of who we are, is we're a living part of the planet herself. We're cells within her body, as it were, that appear to have separate individual identities in addition, but the truth of who we are is in fact that we're part of this earth, and we're evolving as a unity organism, as a family, in our understanding of who we are and what needs to happen on the planet to heal the urgent straits that we're in of overconsumption and everything else. So and that's what this film brilliantly portrays in different modalities.
That's a profound shift of paradigm, actually, to imagine ourselves or recognize ourselves.
From a culture of individuality and consumption and getting whatever we can secured for ourselves to, let's work together, and let's sit down, plan, and get busy and do the work that we're here to do using our individual gifts for the collective good. And all of us being clear, there's nothing else that we can be doing but really jumping in for this urgent work that we all have together.
And seeing ourselves as components of a grander organism. And that's even a shift from seeing ourselves as stewards of the planet.
Yes, exactly. We are the planet. We are, and there's some of us who are the cancer cells that are just like cancer does, start rather than being part of this living system and contributing, we're now gathering as many resources as we can and protecting them and et cetera, and causing the sickness. So those of us who recognize that are the immune system that are immediately called into action, just as the T cells, are the body brilliantly coordinated attack or containment or whatever it is that they need to do, perfectly orchestrated without us even having any idea that this is going on. And it's amazing. It's like a fractal going into the Earth systems of how it works and how we are, and really understanding the Earth as that living system with its ways of regulating itself just as a living being does, and so forth. And so understanding, just because it doesn't look like a mammal,
Right.
The fact that it fits every scientific definition of what a living thing is. This planet does all that. It's a gigantic living thing with all these different systems, of which we humans are clearly embedded as making the planet now work on a higher evolutionary capacity than it had before humans came along. That's
It's kind of a mind-blowing
potential
concept
of what humanity now. Yeah.
And I just want to reiterate that it's distinct from thinking of the planet and us. It's that we are, like you said, we are part of the body of the planet. That's a remarkable. It brings about a shift in so many things.
It's as big a shift as going from a flat world up to the 1500s to, wow, everyone is now clear. We do live on the sphere that's circling the sun in a gigantic galaxy amongst many other galaxies. I mean, this is gigantic new understanding of the cosmos, which again, the film brilliantly captures and conveys and in an experiential way, beyond words, actually showing, these galaxies and the planets spinning and and then these gorgeous close-ups of the Earth from space kind of thing. Just this exquisite mama Earth that we live on. Yeah. And that accompanied with Khan saying, the Earth is literally our mother. We need to completely live as if that were true now, because it is true. She's our mom. Earth Day is, is like Mother's Day. That's Neil brilliantly pointed out, that the true Mother's Day is about honoring the planet, right? Mother to us all.
Well, let's back up and talk about exactly what the intention of the source book is, what it is. Because for everybody listening, you're going to be receiving this if you purchase or when you purchase the Premium Summit package. This is a gift that Vinit is including in that package, and it's a phenomenal resource. So Vinit, just tell us really what's in there, what's the value of this thing, and what was the intention in putting it together?
Yeah, thank you, Mira. I actually got inspired for this when I had the good fortune of attending the UN World Summit in Johannesburg in 2002, the World Summit on Sustainable Development. And I ran there. I was there for the high level proceedings as a media correspondent at that point, and from the United Nations Association delegate, my affiliation at that point. But in addition to the high level official goings on, which I was pleased to be there for that, but there's these other components of these world summits that are at least as important, if not more so. And that one is there's kind of a public space for exhibitions, and countries have little pavilions there, and there are cultural performances depending where it is. Given in South Africa, there was wonderful African dance and music and some theater and fantastic, and exhibits of different kinds, installations, rituals going on. I mean, it was fantastic. That part was definitely my favorite. So I ran across these pamphlets put out by the Swedish government. A few European governments have different kinds of publications. They're all very helpful, very informative. And then the UN puts out stuff, and a German NGO is actually the one we modeled it after. And they like summarize all. They're covering every major issue for humanity right now: sustainability, social justice, sustainable development, immigration, and refugees. I mean, they're totally important what they do. But these pamphlets summarize basically what's going on where we are in each of these areas. So people like me coming in can get updated easily and very efficiently and effectively by these summaries of where we are and where we need to go from here. What that looks like in terms of both collective, NGO, or governmental action, or combinations of all those, and individually, and what we can do, each of us in our daily lives, to be moving in the right direction, and why those actions are important, and then how to get started and all that. And it's like in this one little pamphlet is all the most important information that all of us need to know, at least these basics, which is what it is, the fundamentals of what humans need to do, who understand, the urgency of where we are, and we're one of those first things we need to do is learn what daily actions that we're now doing, where we buy our groceries and where we do our banking and stuff, how much we travel, all this stuff that's we all do. And we all are making choices that either are supporting sustainability and social justice, or they're not. And by just informing ourselves on this basic level, suddenly we can begin banking at our community banks rather than the big national ones that have caused so many problems. Just as simple as changing our banks. You do it one time for the rest of our lives. You're making a difference rather than part of the problem. So that's the importance of a book like that. And then I recognize, gosh, I haven't seen anything like this in the States. I could put that together. I could find some research volunteers and hire a manager and an editor and put it out. So I did. We put out, that's the fourth edition of it. The last two were really actual books, and they each of them have grown. It keeps growing in size, for better or for worse. So we cover more, but it's not as a slim little pamphlet anybody can read.
Right.
What it is now at 150 pages or whatever is, you have to kind of think, do I have time to read?
Well, as a PDF version, I imagine you can go through and search for particular
Absolutely.
things.
That's right, with live links and so forth.
Yeah.
And that's I recommend for anybody who's not going to sit down with the book, at least look at the PDF version, read the parts of it that are relevant. And the book is better because you can sit down with it, read the whole thing, because this is all basic. We have 10 pages on environment, 12 pages on economics. I mean, this is like the most important of the most important information, and networks, and what you can do, and all. We cover all of that. What everybody can do, what all of us can do collectively through organizations. Each chapter has an explore and engage section so that people can actually immediately take that information and put it into practice. Look up websites and read books, watch videos, and take an action. Write a letter to your congressman, whatever.
So it's really an action handbook.
It's a learning and action handbook. Exactly.
Beautiful.
And I say right in the introduction, there are two things we need to do. We need to learn what we need to do, and then two is we need to do those things and actually change our life to support that new direction, and change our friends and communities to also support, with people who are really concerned and really actually doing something and caring, because, we don't have time to convince everybody. We just need to at least organize with the people that are on board and just dive in and really go.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Top 10 things people can do, or even top 5. So you already mentioned switching to a local bank can make a big difference.
Because it's the lifetime. That one action is huge. Our diet, as we know, the more plant-based we can, the better. It doesn't have to be vegan for everybody. The more, the better. But if people are just much more vegetarian than they have been, even if they're just moving in the right direction, okay, I'll begin moving in that direction. That's huge, because if you keep moving in that direction, you get to a plant-based diet, and that's a gigantic, less footprint, of course, than meat and dairy and the heavy processed foods and the rest of it. Local, organic, the mantra there. And our driving, to make sure we're carpooling as much as we can, cutting down on the miles, getting hybrids when we can, or all electrics. And then, of course, then if we get a solar system as well, which we call rooftop solar, then it becomes all renewable energy directly from the sun into our car. So researching the companies we buy from, just clothing, furniture, everything. We should know what generally the green companies are. You don't have to know all of them, but you be willing to look them up as well and check them out. So they're all our purchases, including all our investments. Same thing. Make sure it's a really green portfolio that supports social justice. And
there actually has been a lot of growth in that arena where there are green-oriented funds that are no fossil fuels, that have all kinds of ethical guidelines, and
it's huge available. Yeah, now I understand something like I know it was in the trillions in terms of the assets that the green portfolios control now.
Yes.
So yeah, very exciting and huge new shifts going on. So there's that's already huge, right? All our investments, all our purchases, research from good companies.
Yeah.
Again, food, clothing.
Simple things like carrying your own bag to the grocery store.
Yeah, that whole arena of everything that we're using, just making it as reusable, green, recyclable, compostable as possible, and repair things rather than getting new. Yeah, that whole thing of preserving that side of everything is huge. And electrical efficiency as that replacing whenever necessary your water heaters and things with them a much more modern efficient. The efficiency is in the last few years has really amped up because of the need for that. We could have done that a long time ago, but now that it's becoming apparent how much we need efficiency, it saves on both a lot of money, but a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, basically.
LED lights. That's a really cool solution.
All of that. Supporting your local NGO, being part of the campaigns, movements, staying, online touch, at least the basics of email touch and, supporting campaigns in the different ways, donation and petitions and all that. It's big. That adds up too. So actually, those are some of the biggest things we covered right there. Those are we can go right down through Drawdown, the 100 top solutions ranked in order of importance, and to see.
So for folks that aren't familiar, what you're referencing is Project Drawdown. Maybe you can give kind of a brief overview of that, because not everybody knows about it.
Absolutely, yeah, and that in and of itself is like that may be an arena that I have a lot of. Be putting a lot of energy into coming up. We'll see. It's probably one of a few, but Project Drawdown has been created and organized by Paul Hawken, the amazing environmental writer and entrepreneur. What it is researching what it will take to actually reverse global warming, not just mitigate it and slow it down, any of that, but he realized no one had actually figured out a way that it could be done. So he got hundreds of international scientists and researchers together, and they actually found out what are the top 100 solutions that will actually collectively draw down carbon out of the atmosphere. And there's some lag time here, but begin to so that global warming and greenhouse gas emissions actually peak out and then begin to fall. And that's, like I said, it'll take some time. We won't see that even in our lifetime in terms of, we'll see the turn, but it's the Titanic trying to turn that around. So this is an amazing breakthrough that not only can we, which is big news to a lot of us who've been following this, but it's economically feasible. It's healthy in every way for the culture, for the people, for the animals, et cetera, for the planet, and it's doable. And therefore, we must do that. We must learn.
If there's a solution, we need to use it.
This is critically important. It's like the game plan for humanity. I mean, our game plan will kind of need to be now written more specifically, but that's the model we'll be using of what needs to be done right now and how to do it. So it's very exciting stuff. And there's drawdown.org is the website. Anybody can, it's a great website. In fact, the website itself is, as soon as the book is published, then everything has to continue developing and evolving through the website, of course. And once the book is printed, it's captured that way. So it's an amazing website with, anybody who wants to do research within any of those 100 solutions. A lot of it's there, all the resources that they used and so forth. So yeah, a critically important part of the puzzle, and one that can give us great hope now that we can do this. A lot of us have been quite worried that, it's too late, it's too big.
Right.
It is very late and it is very big, and we can still, we can still turn it around, but
Exactly.
we need to just really jump in now.
We need to do it now. We need to do it together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And so that actually comes around to the social justice issue, because we need to be able to bring everybody together in a committed action to save the planet, save our future here. And when people are concerned about how they're going to get their next meal, they don't have the bandwidth, obviously, to be thinking about the climate.
That's right. Their attention has to be quite immediate on protecting their family and making sure their needs are covered and all that. And so we all have a responsibility in that to create a culture that just provides a lot more equal opportunities for everybody, and which we had much more of. Certainly, if you look at the first half of the last century, where there was a decent middle class had evolved, and there was quite large, and everybody. The vast majority of people had a pretty good shot at things, but it's really deteriorated. So yeah, I think we need to be very humble about that and recognize that we're now living in a very unhealthy society, that we all need to see how we can be part of that collective healing.
Yeah.
So I'll circle back to the source book, because I didn't quite finish up again on. So that the source book is a summary of so we have environment, social justice, economics, energy, community, personal. So covering all the basic aspects of our culture that need attention right now and need to be going in the right direction, and summarize all of that into the most important information that people need to know about both what's going on and what needs to happen now, so that it becomes like our working manual for the direction that humanity needs to go in. So yeah, it is an important book, and we've done it in magazine style with lots of graphics and short, punchy copies. So it's an easy read and an important one.
And you're ready to pass the baton.
I'm very ready to pass the baton, and happy to set up anybody. It's a turnkey operation, and it's surprisingly, I was doing a lot of other things while I was doing that. So anybody who has that aptitude and interest can do it and make some money, but most importantly, put out make available a resource that's critically important.
And would you be willing to be a mentor in that?
Absolutely, I love that. Love that.
Wonderful. Yeah. That's awesome.
I've got all the documents, the procedures, all that stuff. So
beautiful. Yeah. Well, that's a great call to action too. So Vinit, just to wrap things up, what makes you hopeful?
It's a deep question. Drawdown, as we've mentioned, gives me a lot more hope than I had. I'm cautiously hopeful. Yeah, you can probably sense I'm a little restrained, and we can do this. We're up against gigantic forces and momentum right now, inertia that it's like turning around the Titanic before we completely smash into the iceberg right now, and it's going to be a lot of damage, because we are going to hit the iceberg. Whether we go down or not is the big question. So cautiously optimistic, but for the first time I felt some hope now that we can turn climate change around. So So that the new generation is amazing. There's a lot of new energy and innovation already happening from the teens and 20-somethings that care. There's also many, as in our generation, that not caring so much, depending on where they're growing up and how their parents are, etc. But there's a lot of hope in the new generation of men and women who are really on it, who are doing amazing things, and beyond
Clicking buttons, taking names, right?
So that's huge.
Uncompromising.
Renewables revolution going on, no matter what our particular government is supporting it or not. But it's going to go anywhere, because renewable is the only way that makes sense, both economically and for the planet. So.
Right.
So very exciting stuff there. Closing the oil, the coal mines and power plants and so forth, because they're just it's actually costing more. Now that the renewables have become so efficient, and that will continue. It'll become less and less expensive. So that gives me hope. My spiritual world of understanding that we're one connected family and we're evolving as a species gives me hope that as our hearts and consciousnesses expand, that we'll be more accountable to do the right thing, which as we've said is all of us working together for the planet, that we being the change we want to see, as Gandhi so famously said. That will be us, and that is us. Yeah. So all of that gives me hope.
And so, is there any question I should have asked that I didn't ask, or one thing that you'd like to leave us with that can serve as inspiration?
I would say, my own personal path is that nature is the healthiest place for a human to be. Healthy for the body, healthy for the mind, healthy for the spirit, healthy for the heart. And so I would encourage everybody to connect with nature as much as possible, whether it's just taking a break during the day, or ideally taking a few days and going out into deep nature and camping out and drinking deep from Mama Earth's wisdom wells of trees and plants and clouds and iguanas. Yeah. It's medicine. It's wisdom. It's much needed, and it will direct us. My teacher Arkan says, we need to go put our heads on the trees and ask for guidance in a humble and sincere way. And I've done it, and it works. You don't have to be a wild pagan like me to take advantage of nature's wonders and medicines.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Vinit.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Keep the momentum going by checking out all the other experts. Every one of them has invaluable information that you can't afford to miss. Buy the Premium Summit package now. Join the global conversation in our Facebook group and take action in your home, community, or the world at large. Together, we will shape a world that works.